Chris's
Fine.
IQ was so low that he would have to stand on a chair to raise it up.
Did you find my chair?
He's ugly too. He wouldn't need a Halloween mask. I'm kidding.
I've been missing that. Like, where's my chair?
Hello, folks. Welcome back to Cinema Alley Encore with your host James Howe and Chris Cup. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good.
We are on our second Halloween special, and a recap. We covered Del Toro's At the Mountains of Madness, which was unmade, which I actually thought was a pretty interesting coverage. You know, the cover of a film that's not been made, and I've kind of gone over some of the clips that I made, and I definitely do like some of the casting we did. I think that was something very different that we've done so far, and I like that we're experimenting and trying our foot in other things, and I think that was very much a fun episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then we covered the Frighteners for Encore. That was our first Halloween special of this month because you guys get two. Frighteners was fun. Frighteners was fine and fun. And then of course we're just wrapping up the Body Snatcher, which we'll get to that later. I want to give a brief recap before Chris delivers us some very, very good news regarding our WGA brethren and sisterin on the line. So, Chris, take it away.
Oh, man. The deal fell apart. Everything's gone to hell, and it's on fire now. No, I'm kidding. Thankfully, over the weekend, after we recorded that little session discussing it, a few days later, a deal was struck, and the strike is officially kind of over now. They reached a tentative deal.
By what Chris means, folks, is while we were recording the Frighteners, Chris and our guest host got so happy, got a little excited, and while going through the editing process, I was all like, "Dude, we recorded an hour. Half of it is, WGA Hollywood strike stuff, and the other half was the horror stuff." And it's like, this is supposed to be a Halloween special. So September got a surprise episode 5.5, which is made available.
It was a fun recording though. We had a lot of good points to talk about.
But at the same time, as like I'm counting it, my name, it's like we're so going over time right now, and I try to do my best to be on time with, hey, let's try to hit this, and this. And so yeah, you guys got 2 episodes in September unintentionally. I could sit there and say that there was not a week, there was no gap in the week where there was no content going. I think we did fucking good. September and I believe October has been our golden month so far. But continue, Chris. Continue.
So, we're gonna link the page for the contract in the video here, but just the bullet points is the writers won big. They got a lot of the things they were asking for, not like everything that they were asking for, the percentage wise. It looks like the studios met them in the middle here on a lot of that regarding residuals for streaming services and pay, and the basic healthcare for like whenever they get hired for a project.
Mm-hmm.
The AI situation seems to be nipped in the butt here. Let me roll down that. That's kind of one of the biggest things.
That's one of the big
victories.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah, because so they're gonna regulate the use of artificial intelligence in MBA covered projects. AI generated material is not considered literary material, source material, or assigned material under the MBA. AI is not a writer under the MBA, and it's important to note that because I feel like Hollywood was gearing up really fast to replace writers with AI.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to just nip this in the bud. Writers can use AI when writing, but if the studio consents to that, and the company cannot require a writer to use AI software like ChatGPT whenever they're writing. So they can't like force any writers to do any outside help like that. Yeah. And a company must disclose to a writer if any material is given to the writer, if it's been AI generated or not. Mm-hmm. And guild reserves the right to assert that exploitation of the writer's material to train the AI is prohibited. So studios can't feed projects and previously written stuff from other writers into a computer and spit something new out, and that's really important. Like
Yeah.
you can't replace someone like that. You can't train the AI to get smarter and better. Like I'm sure, like whatever they have now, like they can probably write Mozart. As Mike was, I was debating this with Mike a few months ago, and he was like trying to tell me like, oh, if you get AI to ask AI to do something and it writes out enough stuff, it will eventually write out music like Mozart, or
Yeah.
like write out Shakespeare. And I'm like, I understand like it can do that. It shouldn't though. It
Yeah.
should never it should never come to that point. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just not feasible because like you can, if it's writing out like thousands of scripts, like how, are you going to pay a bunch of people to write that or to read all that stuff to see what's good, or are you just going
Exactly.
to like say, hey, which one do you think is the best one? Ask the computer, and it's going to spit you out like what it thinks is the best. Like, are they going to bother reading it? Like,
Yeah,
it's
at that
just
point, I could feel a
a
bunch of
slippery
studio
slope.
people like, yeah, yeah, it looks good enough to me. And it's like, you haven't even got past the first page, asshole. And there's like already 5 really bad spelling errors. You
Yeah.
know?
Just
or,
like
or
this whole
formatting
sentence
errors.
doesn't make sense. The scene doesn't really pull together at all. Like, you have weird characters coming in and saying just the weirdest stuff, and
Why the fuck is Santa
just
Claus coming on moms? Like, what's going
yeah,
on?
like the reindeer are organized into a music band. Like, what is this? No.
After threatening
But
to
like,
unionize.
yeah, pulling from the real world there.
To be honest, so when you mentioned the Mozart's thing, what's really scary was one of my favorite bands is Radiohead, and
Yeah,
when I was listening to it while doing night's journaling, um, YouTube actually pulled up. Oh hey, like we see that you like listen to Police by Radiohead. What about this Kurt Cobain AI generated? And I would curiosity bit me in the ass. I had to, even though I don't like the AI generated stuff with the art because it never makes anything look good unless you pay this
yeah,
weird premium shit. Then it's like no. But I listened to it, and what was so shocking about it is I could definitely hear Kurt's voice, and
yeah,
to me it was like, wow, that feels like such a huge violation to the dead, you know.
yeah.
And it's like, listen to it, it's like, yes, it's haunting, beautiful, and all this other, but it at the same time it feels so wrong that
Is it
you
like using new lyrics to a new song, and it's just having
no,
Kurt
no, no. Karma
Cobain
Police
like,
came out like in
oh,
'99, if I remember correctly. That
oh,
song,
okay,
it used that, but it used all. I guess I'm guessing it used all of Kurt Cobain's previous vocals from like some of the acoustic stuff he did to some of the softer and then louder stuff. And
yeah,
I guess from my understanding was they found anyone that could sound like Kurt and they just mixed it in. I don't really know how the AI generated music kind of works, but I figured it's the same thing like art or anything. It's pulling from different subjects and trying to make this weird camel of a art picture or whatever. But
yeah,
yeah, like when I heard this, it was so scary to know that there could be some kid out there who has never heard of Nirvana, never heard of Kurt Cobain, and they would probably truly believe that Kurt Cobain sang Karma Police, because that's just almost how on the dot it was able to get Kurt's voice.
yeah,
And even in the comments, like there are some people like, oh, I like this, and then there's some people that are like, wow, this is like a real big, you know, just violation of just, you know, of everything, you know. Like for one, Kurt's morals, he would never sit there and do something like this for the sake of commercialism, you know.
yeah.
And it's something that just goes against the artist's morals to begin with, and so to
And like,
have
what's
that,
to like stop people from like coming in and like writing new songs for the band and like just imitating them like that, and like
yeah.
just creating a new album? Like, it it seems very like exploitive to do that
Mm-hmm.
for, and like what you're making new content for an old band like that's kind of had its day, you know. And what about new bands that are trying to come into the spotlight? Are
Yeah.
maybe they'll just get like overlooked because people would rather listen to new AI generated stuff?
Well, I
Like,
mean, I kind of feel like they're overlooked right now, even without the AI. But that's a different conversation for later.
uh,
Yeah.
but like, it's just like
It's
stuff can't
scary. It's scary
everything
how
can't be
AI can be as
replaced.
accurate and
Yeah,
everything, and how a lot of people in any form of entertainment or art industry that they could sit there and they can easily just replace the person that does it. You know, anyone that is like, oh well, I want this art piece to look like this, or I want Elvis to fucking cover, I don't know, What's Love Got to Do with It, or
yeah,
I want Tim Burton and James Cameron to work together on whatever project. I want the film to look like something that Tim Burton and James Cameron would do together. You know, and
yeah.
it's what's the word for it? I'm really trying to actually find an appropriate term for it, but it's
Disgusting.
yeah, that's probably the nicest term. I had a far more really dirty. Let's move on. Let's move on.
All right. But yeah, in short, the writers won a lot of the stuff. They're gonna get residuals for pay for streaming stuff and episodic television.
That's good.
The writers are gonna get minimums in the writers' room. Like they're gonna hire a little. They're gonna ensure there's a couple writers on staff for the duration of some shows, pre-production and post-production wise. Um, and I saw this earlier. I don't see it here, but there was a cool thing like writers are gonna get to be able to stay like on to a show like apprentice wise kind of thing where they like learn the ins and outs of production. So like if people are like going to Hollywood and trying to learn the industry and like how to like
I
do
could have
your own
swore I
show
thought that
running,
they already did that though.
I
But is this now like a mandatory thing that the WGA could just bring in someone to learn it?
like you would keep on young new writers
Yeah.
and like they
Okay.
would learn the craft a little bit better like that's
Because
one of
how
the
else
things
are they
that I
gonna
saw
learn?
about it. Yeah, I mean it feels like the studios didn't really care. Like it just who cares if they don't know how to do it? Like we
Yeah,
don't need them. Like yes you do, you do, you don't. But yeah, no, that's it's all here. We'll provide a link for it so people can go over
that'll be
and
down in the description below, folks.
yeah, check out the crappy counter offers that the studio has made.
The
Just
one that still
lowballing.
the one that still hurts is the yearly thing where I think the WGA asks for what 435 million per year. I
Yeah,
think in total.
the estimated value of the deal for the initial offer was $429 million a year. The studio's counter offer valued at $86 million a year,
God.
and yeah, the deal they came to now is valued at $233 million a year. So it's not it's about half of what they wanted, but you know that
It's
in a few
fucking better
years
than
they
that
can
ridiculous ass fucking counter offer. Like,
yeah
I really want to know what fucking studio heads out there. It's like, I think they could do well with 86. I
yeah
really want to sit there and know which studio guy did that, and then I want to sit there and see him get covered in. Never mind.
like
Tar and feather.
you
There we go.
understand like
I'm trying to be
their job is
nice.
to make the lowest offer and hope they accept, but like come
They're
on
doing
you
business, but at the same damn time, it's you can only cut so much fucking fat before
yeah
you're cutting into the fucking meat, and
I
and
just
you got an ugly
I want
steak.
to I want to see like the financials, like how much money did the studios lose just by re, uh,
From my understanding, they
rejecting these
lost more
deals?
than what was even the
They probably
WGA.
they probably lost a couple of billion altogether. To get,
Yeah,
it's just like they could have just said yeah and bit the bullet like other the small studios did. You know,
it's
it's
like,
just
oh wow, you gotta
ridiculous.
wait another year just to buy that fucking fancy yacht. I know we've been using this ever since we've been
Yeah,
covering this. Yeah, you gotta wait an extra year. You know, maybe you gotta put a loan out. Oh my god, you have to put a loan out for something. Um, but yeah, does that cover the WGA's rewards? What they've all earned? Is that everything?
I mean for the most part. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Now we just gotta wait for
uh,
the SAG. We gotta wait for their. They're supposed to be going in negotiations. What, next week? I think as
I
we're
think
recording
so.
this. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
STAG and the VFX unionization issues
yeah,
that we have.
yeah. You, okay, so you know what? Here, this was not intentional, but you know what? I'm gonna actually talk about this. So last week, um, it was a very busy Sunday that I had, and one of the earliest things I got to do was I actually got to go see the new Expendables movie. Don't waste
Yeah,
your money at the theaters watching it because it's fucking hot garbage. So for the studios to not believe in writers, for the studios to sit there and to overwork the visual effects guys, Sylvester Stallone, who's always had some form of creative control or creative input in this, did not have anything. Not in the script, not in the story by. That's why, and here comes spoilers, Barney is quote unquote killed off at the beginning. His character, they kill him off.
yep.
The film seems like, wow, like, ooh, that's a bold ass freaking move. And then when they kind of go from like Expendables to what feels like the transporter, and then Under Siege, because there's this nuclear bomb that's gonna go over to that's being like kind of shipped over to Russia, and what's supposed to start World War III. And the only reason that they want this is because the guys that hired the heroes and everything, he just wants to profit off of the war, which is gonna be the most shittiest fuck. I just want to make a profit. It's like it's the most realistic, but it's the most shittiest fucking. There's no emotional goal other than I want to make money, which that's a nice, good metaphor for the fucking film industry. With them studio heads guys. Um,
Yeah,
and like the choreography and everything is like wonderful. It's everything that you sit there and you see in an Expendables film. It's something I expect in it. There's some dumb humor. The fucking Randy Couture is talking about his cauliflower ear again, and it's like, oh, for fuck's sakes. But there was a lot of really bad writing in it, where like some of the dialogue and it's some like, oh, well, why the fuck am I even seeing this? It's like, why
yeah,
is he going through what he's doing? It's all like, are they gonna retire him, or is he gonna be one of the guys getting killed off? Oh, that he was supposed to be sober, and now they just figured, oh, well, you know what, like, to save my friends I gotta be an alcoholic. It's like, I don't think that's the right message you want to send for for a character. But the thing that I cannot forgive this movie, because this movie carries the same budget apparently as the last two installments, 100 mil. I
yeah.
swear to God, the scenes in which the helicopter blows up from a rocket launcher and falls off the boat, or the ship, and tumbles into the water. Chris, we are talking PlayStation 2 fucking graphics. It was the goddamn most fucking embarrassing damn thing. I felt embarrassed walking out of that theater because you know what? The studio probably had rushed the visual effects guys. They did
Yeah.
not. Let me tell you, this fucking makes The Rock from The Mummy 2 look, chef's kiss. And that really bad CGI thing, it makes it look a lot
Oh my
fucking better. And I know people will
god.
sit there and say, well, the Expendable movies are just dumb action films. They're not supposed to be. There's a difference, though, between. Because as much as people like to complain about the Flash's CGI, I could handle the Flash's CGI compared to what the fuck I just saw here. And this right
Th-
here is obviously it's the studio heads pushing those visual effects guys when they have way too much work on them. Or maybe it's just not enough of
there's
them working on a project that the helicopter looks like shit. And I was like, are you
yeah.
telling me you had no practical helicopter that obviously could have sold better than this? It's like I've seen better video game graphics today that it's shown a car explosion or a helicopter explosion and you see the rubble of it fall. I've seen that better visually than what we saw in this movie. This
Yeah.
movie was so sad to watch, and I felt bad for all the freaking guys that worked on it, because obviously it was definitely not the finished look of what they wanted. It felt rushed out, and uh
And that here's like because there's no excuse for like more work now because I just saw the creator yesterday, very visual effects heavy movie, and it all looked freaking fantastic. Gareth Edwards like knows how to like use the money in the budget there.
mhm.
It was only made with 80 million. Like
Yeah.
There's visual effects in like every shot. Like
Yeah.
there's people with like the AI background
Which
behind their
one is
head
this
and
one? Is the
the
creator?
creator. Yes,
Is that the one where the guy has to kill the little AI?
yeah, the little
Yeah.
AI
Okay.
kid.
Okay. Okay. That was
Yeah,
Gareth Edwards.
and
I kept thinking it was District 9, dude.
oh yeah, Neil Blomkamp. Like
It has
it's
his feel. It has his
it
feel on
has
there.
it, like you can definitely see the look of that, but like Blomkamp, the main difference I see between Gareth Edwards and Neil Blomkamp is Blomkamp knows how to write characters better and interesting dialogue. Gareth Edwards, like he's great with visual effects and stuff, and like he obviously knows like has the idea of the story in his head, but it's just sometimes the characters aren't really that compelling. And at, there was a part in the movie, middle part of the movie, like when they're kind of slowed down and like trying to figure out their next move. I was kind of almost like dozing off a little bit because I was like trying to fight myself to stay awake because like it's
Oof.
just it all looked great, but man, it's just I really didn't really care about the characters that much, and weren't that interesting to me. So
Sounds like it needed
but
more
like
Godzilla.
yeah, even Gareth. I mean, his Godzilla movie can be
I
a whole
loved his
slug
Godzilla
sometimes.
movie. I hated how what happened to some of the characters in that movie, but at the same time, it was like
I
nothing beats watching Godzilla just burn a
Gareth
fucking
Edwards, I
yeah.
love you, but you need to work on your characters a little bit. Like, just make them more interesting.
Well,
I don't know.
did he write it? Did
Yeah, he wrote it with I think two other writers. Two other
because
writers got the
I don't
writers
know how
credit.
often like what's the ratio between him writing his own stuff and directing it, or him just directing someone else's
I
writing.
I think I think he I think he wrote like Rogue One from beginning to end, but I think
That
the
one, yeah,
studio took it away and like changed the ending on him. Uh,
yeah.
but Chris Weitz or Wheats,
Is it
which
whites or
I'm not.
wheats?
I think it's Wheats. Wheats.
Wheats,
So
like the
it's
mini wheats.
I'm not great with like foreign names, Whites or something. I don't know. I want to get the pronouncing right. I'm going to murder
The
the
enunciation,
pronunciation.
the
Yeah.
enunciation. Yeah. Oh my god.
uh, Sorry,
So
guys, but no, it's just like this movie was $80 million, and there's just amazing visual effects, and they probably because they took their time on this movie, and they probably weren't like having the studio breathing down their neck because it wasn't a new IP or
it
existing
wasn't a
IP.
sequel, or yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so it had the time to bake in the oven like it should have.
yeah. Well, there you go, folks. You have something to compare. The creator.
Yep,
The creator
the
was an
creator.
$80 million budgeted film going up against the Expendables 100 mil.
Yep.
It's
Wait,
fucking
did the
depressing.
Expendables have? Did they even like use squibs or was it CGI blood crap
Oh, it's all
again?
CGI. They haven't used squib since the first
Ah,
movie. They haven't used it since the first film. And
you're doing an
you could
action
tell the
movie. You
difference.
use squibs.
You can definitely tell that. Well, I think the main reason why they stopped doing it, it's because of the little explosion things. That there are some people that they get burnt. I mean, like they kind
Nah,
of use that.
quit being whiny bitches and do the
Hey,
squibs.
look, all I gotta sit there and say is that Sir Christopher Lee had squibs on, or what was supposed to be kind of like squibs, but without the blood and the mummy,
Yeah,
and he fucking got burned when it was supposed to be the shot where Peter Cushing shoots him with a shotgun, and you see the
yeah.
things just go, and yeah, it exploded, but it caught fire kinda on the mummy thing, and so I think if it depends on how it's made. I think it depends on I would have to ask like a stunt person that I kind of feel like that's part of the thing along with the special effects people. It's how
Yeah.
much kickback do you really get? Does it just depend on how much is being used? Which that could be an understatement because in the expendable movies they don't just shoot a dude in the head. No, they riddle the fucker's guy's body with bullets. So that right there I could feel if you have like maybe 1 2 on the shoulder, couple on the abdomen, and then you have those bitches go off at the same time. Yeah,
Bring squibs back.
I love a good squib, but
Like
yeah.
you're going for a hard R movie, action movie. You
Well, I
People
think the
can tell
first
it's
one,
fake blood,
was only hard R. I think the other ones were like PG-13.
and they got mm, ridiculed to death because of it.
Yeah, but
They
you
didn't
know
learn
what
their
though?
lesson.
But you know what though? Like at least with 2 and 3, that was actually pretty good. This one, like the villains, I didn't really understand what the villains is like. Why the hell are you helping the American out? Like why are you guys helping him out for? You never got that explained. I think a lot of what's just the issue. I probably could have looked past the helicopter thing, but what just really kind of makes me feel down, it's the writing is just not that good.
Yeah,
Um, like
didn't make you
they
feel.
brought the guy from what's it for Onbach and everything or something like that. It was a I think it's like a Hong Kong action film, and then the main villain from, or not the main villain, but the guy we think is the main villain in that one, he was like I think the lead hero in the raid, if I remember correctly. So like they had like a
Oh,
bunch of really great talented guys, and I can't sit there and say that the fights were boring or anything. Like they were fucking engaging, but it makes me wonder where the hell did the money go in. It could not have all gone to Megan Fox, which
yeah,
Megan Fox needs to stay away from big studio films. It's kind of the same thing with Kirsten Stewart. Megan Fox can pull off a performance of a lifetime in an independent film. You get her to a studio thing, it feels like the director or whatever the studio has been telling the director to do. It does her no justice. You know, I
yeah.
understand probably to her it's a good paycheck. It's like, yeah, I can do maybe one or two of these big budget ones, and then I can go back to the independents and do something where obviously people love me a little bit more on because they're like, why can't you bring this to the big budget? It's like chances are she does, but then the studio's like, no, we need the hot chick from Transformers. That's what the people really want.
Yeah.
You know, that's what
We
the
need the
masses want, and it's
we need the sex candy, the eye candy here.
the sex candy.
Yeah.
You heard it
The
here,
sex
folks. We need the
appeal.
sex candy. Yeah.
Sex candy.
Oh my god. All right, moving forward on ahead. So, as I did mention, the Body Snatcher earlier, when this episode obviously goes live, that you guys would have already seen the Body Snatcher on YouTube. But I actually listened to the audiobook today while I was working, trying to get last minute things done. Um, Obviously, it shares some of the cores of the relationship between the villains. I don't really want to sit there and say the hero and villain. Though the good guy in the movie, Fetz, is like totally written to be like an alcoholic sleazeball. They kind of more or less threw that more to his professor, his doctor professor, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, they needed the student to be like the only good moral compass in the movie, huh? Like,
Yeah,
because everyone else is kind of shitty.
yeah. You know, well, it's either that or like they've been just beaten down by the jobs in which that they've done, that they've kind of, I wouldn't sit there say like they lost their light, but they've been dulled. And so obviously this guy is like meant like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna help everyone, and then the other people are like, yeah, sure. It's like if the doctor can't fix it, I highly doubt you can. And of course this guy believed in the doctor, and you know the doctor's like, I did everything. It's like, it's that bedside manner of yours, dude. It's like you've been hanging around with too many corpses, that you know it's that bedside manner that you got to fix.
It's like, hey, they're great with conversation. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but other than that, I kind of feel like it does very much get the spirit of what The Body Snatcher by Robert Louis Stevenson wrote. It's still tied to the oh crap, I just forgot their fucking damn names. The two guys that went around London killing people to give to the yeah. And it's all over the episode.
Uh,
I've said their name all over the
man,
episodes.
I mean, it's to be fair, like it was like a passing thing to me. Like,
Yeah, there's another movie that Burke and Hare. There you go.
Burke and Hare.
Not all my brain cells are dead, folks. There's still some kicking. They were just running all around into the office. They're going through the filing cabinets. What the fuck's it called? But I want to see I Sell the Dead. That's another Burke and Hare style of movie, and I think that's played more as a black comedy. They kind of kept the core to that, and you can actually go on YouTube and go through the Horror Babble audiobook YouTube page, and you can actually find it. Like, It came out back in 2017, so you're probably just gonna have to type in, you know, the Body Snatcher horror babble, and then like you'll find it. It's sadly not narrated by the guy that does the voices now, but I actually do think that the lady that did the reading did a very well job. It's just that with me, if I'm not sitting down listening to the audiobook, I don't fully absorb all the information. But I'm also the kind of person, I can't sit still while listening to an audiobook. I have to get up and clean or work or do something. My body and my brain have not allowed me to just sit still for one moment, and that's why I'm always moving. But yeah, Chris, what did you think about the Body Snatchers?
I thought it was a nice little horror movie. Like, it was different from most like early 1940 horror movies that I've seen, like
Mm-hmm.
Universal Horror Monsters. That's kind of like what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting like a doctor and stuff like getting bodies for science students and stuff and dissections, and like I didn't expect it to be as I guess not as violent. It wasn't as violent as I expected.
Yeah.
You know?
For those of you guys that also did not catch it, like, you guys can definitely sit there and watch it on the YouTube channel. Hopefully by the time that this by the time this comes out, it'll be on YouTube and everything, because this will air right after that. I don't know why I keep telling myself that. I know that. Uh,
Do you?
I think
Do
my
you know
brain's all
that?
like, do you? Do you know that? Like,
Are you
but
sure?
but moving forward from the Body Snatcher, Chris picked last week's topic of the Frighteners, and I had to be the much more difficult one, and I picked two. So you know, I've been like in kind of like in a down and outness, like, I don't really want to do nothing. I don't feel too happy. And so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna pick two childhood favorites of mine that they're technically movies, they're more TV specials for movies, but the first one that we're going to tackle is Garfield's Halloween special, which is...
And as someone who didn't watch Garfield or the other one growing up, it was a nice little thing to watch. It was a little pleasant viewing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely gave me a couple more burns that I can actually use on the friends. I love Garfield. I love it when Garfield roasts Odie. But this 1985 film, this TV special, it encapsulates everything that is Garfield for the holiday spirit. And Garfield's a big fan of Halloween because he gets to dress up and go hunting for the candy.
Yeah.
I have to say it every time, otherwise like my brain won't let it rest. But yeah, like, Chris, what did you think of the story?
I thought it was a nice little story. I mean, just like Garfield wanting to dress up and stuff, and him going to little upstairs to find his little costume. And I enjoyed the little musical numbers that it kind of did. And when they're out on the street talking about like getting candy and like with the kids dressing up and lifting up the ghosts costumes for a couple of them, and they find one of them's like Sasquatch and the other one's like a legit ghost because there's something under them. And I
Yeah,
thought that was like a cute little episode.
I love those musical numbers and everything. It's kind of hard to really pick which special today has the best musical numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
For me, it was Garfield because I didn't watch the other
one. I could send you the soundtrack later and everything, because I was listening to that today too. It's both jazz. It's weird because at this era, I think our other film is like, I think it's maybe in the early 80s, if not the late 70s or so, with its animation. But for some reason, animation of that time loved using jazz. There's something about jazz that just makes it a really, really good nostalgic. But yeah, Garfield, he wants the candy. He's gonna bring Odie on board to help double up the candy, and in their crusade of not being a scaredy cat. Which, doing the whole mask thing, I always wanted to do that to someone. It's like I just want to pull it back and then watch the elastic just smack them. They come across this. I don't know what compelled Garfield to fucking do this, but oh, that's right. They were actually going to try to go across the lake where I guess all the rich people were at and get the better candy. I think that was the general idea, but then they come across this island because Odie dropped the oars, and they wound up on this island where this creepy ass old man that his backstory doesn't really add up, but you know what? Like, let's fucking go with it. It's a fucking children's special from 1985.
He's supposedly over 100 years old in that too.
Because we're talking about pirates here that are going to return to this island at exactly, what was it, like 100 years ago? Yeah. Yeah, it was something like that. I was like, dude, there's no way hell.
Like, there.
Yeah,
like, how were you there,
he was
bro?
a cabin boy. He was a cabin. Like, I gotta say, this moment was one of the best horror moments because it's just him. It's the voice telling the story of I was that boy. You know, I knew the gold was here. You know, because I buried it or whatever, and it just frightens Garfield and Odie to a certain extent. And I'm just like, oh my god, this is terrifying as a kid. And then whenever he runs off. And Garfield and them are like all freaking out because the clock is like bellowing. And I love how modern Garfield's attitude towards the clock is. It's, oh my god, the clock is winding down. We can't let the ghost come. So what's the first thing he's going to do? Let's try to destroy the clock and hope that does not bring the ghost. And because I would think the same thing too. And it's like, wow, it's like this aged well. This aged very well. Thinking outside
the box there.
Yeah. Destroy the clock and the ghost won't hear the bell. Therefore, we're safe. That doesn't work, but I do love the animation for the ghost pirates. It's so simple, but it's so ominous, and having Garfield and Odie hide from them as like they're ripping up the floorboards and there's this gold here. Also too, the old man has like ran off with the boat, so Garfield and Odie are just stuck there. They're all like, "Oh, you took my candy." Yeah.
Did he run off, or was he really even there?
Oh,
are you sure he was even there?
Well, then how did the boat leave the island, Chris? That makes no sense.
It was on the current. The current of the river moved it.
I'll partially believe you. I will partially believe you, even though this is a children's cartoon from the fucking 80s. But yeah, like the whole like Garfield and Odie being chased down by the ghost pirates, and then they go and, you know, Garfield's like, we're going to have to make a swim for it. And it's like, oh, wait, I can't swim. And so the whole episode or the whole special in which he's just shit on Odie, and Odie's the one that saves his life. And, it's very kind of wholesome. And they finally make it back home to John. And after they found that their candy was left on the beach with the boat. So, like, obviously, I think that would be pretty shitty for an old man to take a dog and a cat's candy, you know.
I mean... Yeah, I mean,
going by Chris's theory, was he really even there? It's like, but yeah. So they go in to get it, and Garfield is telling Odie, it's all like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but here's your share, and because Odie saved the day, and it was really really good. And then of course Garfield tries to turn on the TV to go to bed at night, and it's that same creepy old man with a pirate hat. And it's all like, I think I've watched enough TV. And I just love that last line. And it's like, I'm going to bed. And obviously for horror nuts, for the people who love horror, this is like a huge parody of John Carpenter's The Fog, which came out 5 years prior. I wonder if that was intentional from the creator Jim Davis. Because these were I think comic strips first before they were animated. So I wondered if for his Halloween special if he saw The Fog, and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could kind of take that general idea of there are these pirates that had treasure and these people make them crash their thing and they take the gold and leave the pirates that had leprosy on them or whatever and leave them to drown. It was like, yeah, that's a very dark story, but Jim Davison and the people who worked on this, they did their best to adapt this for children at the time to watch, and I actually do think they do pretty damn well. It's scary enough, but it's also funny enough.
It's a nice little story, and it teaches, like, share with your friends
while also roasting the fuck out of them.
Sure, you probably shouldn't, but you can.
I will.
I will. Friendly banters.
He was so low that he would have to stand on a chair to raise it up.
Did you find my chair?
He's ugly too. He wouldn't need a Halloween mask. I'm kidding.
I've been missing that. Weird pumpkin.
Oh my
Can you
god.
stand up?
I promise for Halloween I will share my candy with you, Chris.
Yay! Wait, nose
Chris.
candy?
Yeah. Oh my god, Chris, why'd you gotta do that? Oh my god.
What?
Oh my
I'm
god.
sick. Yeah, I'm trying to get some stuff out of my nose.
Quit. Oh my god. So, final thoughts on Garfield before we move on to our next one.
Fun little movie or little special. I enjoyed it, especially the
Watch it.
music.
It's free
I
on YouTube. It's actually
Yeah,
on the Garfield YouTube channel. You can watch that, and it's sad that you can't. I think you can watch it on Tubi, but I think like other streaming services that used to carry Garfield, now you can just like watch. I think all the episodes for free. The original stuff, the newly kind of, I guess you call it 3D animated. It looks
yeah.
2D, but it has that 3D look and everything. It's like Garfield's and Friends and everything. But you can watch all that on YouTube. So you got something post Halloween to binge too. It's like you can watch the Halloween special, you can watch the Thanksgiving special, the Christmas special. Nothing, they're okay, but nothing beats nothing beats Halloween. Halloween
Yeah.
is everything to us right now. But yeah, our next one, it's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I kind of figured that if people already know that I was going to cover Garfield and I was going to do childhood nostalgia, yeah, every year I watch the Charlie. It's a Great Pumpkin. I was fucking that all up, but yeah. So Chris sadly could not see it because he did not have Apple TV.
Yeah, I
And
tried, man. I tried to look for it everywhere. It's really hard to find, apparently,
yeah,
unless
because
you
like
like have a
you can't even
DVD of
watch it
it.
on Amazon. You can't even watch it on there. Like the Apple TV got such a score with the Peanuts IP and the licensing that essentially that's the only place you can watch it. And
Yeah,
the first year that they did this, people were so pissed off. They were like, "Where the fuck is my goddamn Great Pumpkin? And where is my Thanksgiving and my Christmas?" And like they were like, "Okay, we'll give it to you." And like they did for that one year, they played it all, and you know, because
yeah.
like they were all like, "Why are the cable people not playing this?" Because I think
The
both Garfield and Charlie Brown were made for NBC, and then later they moved on to ABC. Um,
yeah,
the rights shifted over. Either way, it was still on a cable network that everyone had, and you could
and
watch it every. You know, they made that available, and
like the closest thing you could probably find of it outside of Apple TV is the Robot Chicken Charlie Brown sketches of like when they summon Pumpkinhead and like he starts
and
killing people.
well, you got the Simpsons Halloween special too because they did the same thing
Oh
and
yeah,
every. Yeah, they did one where it's Linus or it's Millhouse dressed like Linus, and he ends up crying because I think the bullies just picked on him and then like gut punched him before like going to like the Halloween party, which is what's mimicked here in the Great Pumpkin. Well,
yeah,
what ends up happening is when Millhouse cries onto the pumpkin, it comes to life and everything, and yeah, like he comes across Homer who's carving him up, and he's like, "Oh my god!" He eats Homer, and then whenever he comes to the school where they're hosting the Halloween party, uh, Willie comes out with like a pan of roasted pumpkin seeds and everything. And
yeah.
so when the pumpkin shows up, he's like, "You cooked the unborn?" And I was like, "Oh my god, this is so dark!" And like, and he goes and he eats Willie, and I think I forgot who was it that ended up killing him, but like the moment that they go and they finally killed the Great Pumpkin, like everyone that he ate just comes out, and it's.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for that sound effect, folk, but it's great. You know, it's great how much this has been parodied. But
yeah.
I love this I love this short. This is probably the one that I watched the most. And what's funny is that there is technically an adult version of this out there called Trick or Treat. So
Yep.
my thing with that, it's I'm not saying that this is an anthology, but this is more vignettes of different occurrences, different incidents. It's not like some of the other Peanut stuff where there's like one story and then maybe like a B story. You know, like in that traditional sense, it's more of this is the entire night of Halloween, and we're gonna follow Linus and Lucy, not Linus and Lucy, Linus and Sally in the pumpkin patch, Lucy and the kids trick-or-treating and going to the Halloween party at her place. And then, of course, you have Snoopy getting in all sorts of shit, which, you know, these characters throughout their night, they all overlap. Um, Linus is in the pumpkin patch with Sally. He gets like that one last chance from his sister to join them on trick-or-treats, and he declines. And so they go, and poor Charlie Brown is collecting rocks from, which I want to fucking know, like, what the hell did he do to those parents? You know, it's like everyone gets candy, he gets a rock. It's like, dude, what did you do? You
Maybe they
know.
were Jehovah Witnesses or something.
But you know, you feel bad for Charlie Brown. Everyone else got candy, he got nothing. Uh, Snoopy lost his house because he was flying with it, and he fought the Red Baron. And quite sadly, Linus did not get to see the Great Pumpkin. But throughout, like, there's so many great laughs. There's so many great moments. Lucy bobbing for apples and finds out that Snoopy's in there, and he's holding onto the same apple with his mouth and everything. And she's all like, "I've been kissed by dog lips," and just acting dramatic. And then when Linus thinks he does see the Great Pumpkin, you know, coming out of the pumpkin patch, no, it's Snoopy, but he passes out.
Yeah.
And then he gets his neck ring by Sally. You know, she's like, "I can't believe, you know, I missed out on all the candy, apple, and gum, and, you know, the party and all sorts of things." And then she's like, "No, I had to listen to you, you blockhead." And it's great because she's always loved Linus. And this is exactly the thing is Sally has loved Linus unconditionally throughout the entirety of the Peanuts run. And this is the one night when things get switched up, because when she realizes that there was no Great Pumpkin, she fucking gave him the fifth degree and everything. She shook him by the neck to the point that it traumatized him. And then she left, you know, because, you know, she missed Halloween. She missed trick-or-treats and the party. And she fucking felt bad, and she did all this. And then, of course, what's nice is that Lucy, the sister that's been picking on her brother for the whole time, while she's out trick-or-treating, she does get him some extra candy, even though she's, like, mocking his ass at the same time. And then when Linus is sleeping in the pumpkin patch and he's freezing, she's the one that actually carries him, or more or less walks him to bed and everything. And, like, you know, she takes the shoes off, she takes care of her little brother. That it kind of shows that as much as we give our siblings shit, our siblings are going to be there for us. So there are some good little wholesome moments of, you know, of being there, even though if you give your loved one shit, you just being there and being a good support system to them, even if you don't believe in what they believe in. Yeah, like I think that's probably about covered. Chris sadly didn't watch it, so we don't really have much to kind of go back off of, but you know,
I mean, it sounds like a fun little special.
It is. And Chris thought that this was an hour long, and I was like, no, this is like, I think, a 22-minute special. 23 minutes, which that's your average, you know, thing. It doesn't stop. And to me, when I look at Trick or Treat, I look at that as just a far more adult, gruesome version of It's the Great Pumpkin. You have all these different stories, they all kind of cross over at some point through certain instances. And to believe it or not, like, there are kids that still watch The Great Pumpkin. You know, I still feel like the inner kid in me, so it's like I'll always forever watch The Great Pumpkin.
As long as I have Apple TV.
Well, see, I have it on DVD, so that's how I got
workaround.
Yeah, I work around.
Okay, all right.
My aunt, I think, bought the DVDs, but then she bought, like, I think, like, a collector's pack and everything. Yeah. So she just handed my mom all of them, and then we had, for some reason, 2 copies of the Halloween ones. So my mom's like, "Here you go." And then I think she bought new copies of the holiday ones, and she's like, "Here you go." And I was like, "Why the fuck do I get the hand-me-downs? I want the new one." And it's like, but you know what? I have them. I have my childhood memory on DVD. I just have to plug in my PlayStation just to fucking watch them, because I don't own a DVD player.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is fucking shitty that Apple TV has, like, this huge stranglehold on the Peanuts properties. And to be honest, like, I think that probably pushed people to, like, no, I'm not going to buy your shitty streaming service. I don't care if Godzilla's on there or anything.
Yeah.
But, you know,
just everyone starts going for physical media and are buying stuff off Voodoo or something, you know.
Yeah.
Just try to get away from the streaming services as much as you possibly can. That's the
Yeah.
message of the day.
Well, like, see, what's also kind of weird though, it's Netflix kind of changed the streaming game a little bit because with their originals like Hemlock Grove, they took that off of Netflix and they let Tubi borrow the license, so now you can watch that. You can watch a
Yeah.
Netflix original on Tubi, and so it. I kind of wonder if somewhere in the future, if other streaming services will kind of do that. I mean, like HBO Max kind of borrowed or they licensed out the Over the Garden Wall, which what we covered last month and everything. That's like on Hulu, even though it's leaving HBO Max. I think it's staying strictly on the Hulu and
I
everything.
mean,
So
we're
it's either
probably just gonna
a
enter
trade or
another.
it's a lean.
It's probably we're just entering a new age of cable television. It's just a different. It's cable television just in a different way.
You
There's
don't
going to
need a
be,
wire or anything or a cable or
yeah,
anything.
streaming services are going to license their other stuff out to other ones. It's just this isn't making money. Let's see if we can make money giving it to this guy. Like that's probably where we're going.
Yeah, do that and do a fair enough trade. Well, like what can we take from their catalog? You
Yeah.
know, Pootie Tang. Yeah, that's what the kids want. We can make money off of that. Oh my god, that's a throwback. That's a throwback and a half.
Just cut the wire entirely. Go into the woods and live off the grid.
Where's the fun in that, Chris? so folks, I do know that while we did give you some more or less, it's like more like childhood nostalgia recommendations for this one. I actually did not want to sit there and just leave you guys with that, so I actually do have a few horror selections of my pick, and Chris can do like we'll do it like bullet storm wise. I name off the films and you just give me your quick thoughts on them.
Okay.
John Carpenter's The Fog. Quick thoughts.
Very scary. I think it's kind of weird that Tom Atkins can get with a young Jamie Lee Curtis, but whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not jealous at all. It's fine. I don't have a. I'm not jealous. It's fine.
Mario Bava's
no.
Black Sunday.
You just told me about it. I've never heard of it. I mean, I know you told me it's like
It's
Boris
a wonderful
Karloff.
horror anthology. If you love Boris Karloff, you'll see it. And I'll add an extra one that's not on this list, but Black Sabbath by Mario Bava, which has the most elegant and wonderful Barbara Steele. Love that woman to fucking death. She's still got to be one of the most gorgeous women in horror. Barbara Steele's also in Black Sunday, so she worked a lot with Bava. Yeah. But Black Sunday is more about a witch that comes back after she had been killed, and she's seeking revenge on the ancestor of the people that essentially threw her in the Iron Maiden for all eternity.
Classic witch, man.
It's a classic witch story. It's very basic in storytelling, but it's so captivating with the performances. All right, on to the next one. Dario Argento's Deep Red.
I've never seen.
You never seen that one? Deep Red no. is a mix of the supernatural with the slasher. It is this murderer going around killing people. The psychic sees through the eyes of that murderer, and the sad thing is the murderer also knows too who she is, and so this love interest that she randomly picks up for one night, and the dude's like, "I've got to solve her murder and all these other people's murders." For one thing, Dario Argento, you don't go to him for story, you go to him for an experience. Deep Red is a wonderful experience. It's a beautifully shot. I love the way how they used the color red and everything. And the soundtrack by Goblin, I do believe so. I think they worked a lot with Argento. Goblin delivers a wonderful soundtrack to that. And then finally, Chris, Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat. Best little movie. It's my favorite horror movie, like to watch on Halloween. It's the only movie anyone should be watching on Halloween.
I think it replaced Halloween. I think it really has.
I mean, yeah, like it's the best holiday movie for Halloween that you should watch. Like it has the spirit of the season, the holiday itself. Everyone going out and getting candy, doing jack-o'-lanterns, and just like it touches on all facets.
Having orgies in the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh god, people are gonna sit there and
Murder.
start throwing us into a fucking insane asylum. But yeah, that was a quick bullet storm for us. So we're gonna wrap things up. This kind of became a little bit of a long episode, but you know what? We had fucking fun doing it. Chris, where can people find you on the socials?
The Zealous Slacker on Instagram and YouTube.
You can find me, the Gothic Storyteller, on Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Thread, almost everywhere else. Almost. I'm not on X, but folks, you can also support us here. We do have an Instagram page. We have a Patreon page, and yeah. But this whole month has been super super busy with all the content, and I love and appreciate all the support from our viewers, from our supporters. You know, on the socials. Even if if you're not supporting us through Patreon, your views, your likes, your shares, they all that on the socials. We graciously do appreciate that. This is like our Christmas. This is our spooky Christmas, you know. So, thank you guys again for listening. Thank you guys again for tuning in for our spooky month, our first one, and we hope to make it bigger and better for next year's spooky month. Hopefully, if we're still doing this. Depends on how much of the level of burnout I'm on, Chris. But with that being said, Chris, say goodbye to everyone.
Bye bye. Bye bye.